So I've been using the base model M4 Max Mac Studio for about over 8 months now, and I couldn't have been more pleased with my purchase. I think for most people, if you want the best raw performance to price ratio, this exact Mac from Apple is really hard to beat, and I'm gonna show you why in this video. Starting off with design, I'm such a fan of how minimal and clean this desktop computer looks. It's basically a high-end silver aluminum box that just sits on your desk and looks very pretty while doing it. For all the power that this thing possesses, it's kind of amazing that it's as compact as it is and gives you back a ton of usable desk space. For a while, actually, I had thought I wanted to have a MacBook Pro connected as my main computer at a desk, but I didn't love the idea of how much space it would take when it was just closed. And I also wasn't open to using some kind of VESA mount or laptop stand that would take up additional space on the desk. So when I had considered the Mac Studio, I was really drawn to how much more functional and clean my setup could be with a computer designed top to bottom to just sit at your desk. And it's also worth mentioning this desktop is incredibly functional because of the sheer amount of ports available to you to consolidate a lot of your setup to connect to one device, being the Mac Studio. The version that I have comes with two 10 gigabit USB-C ports on the front with an SD card reader for UHS 2 support, which is really good for me because it's quick convenience to just pop in an SD card and transfer files or charge my phone on a whim. And then on the back, you get 4 Thunderbolt 5 ports, 10 gigabit Ethernet, 2 USB-A ports, HDMI 2.1, and a headphone jack. For most people, this is all you need to fully load your computer setup with accessories. And if you happen to get a studio display like myself, or generally any newer monitor these days, you're gonna find a ton of extra USB-C ports on those monitors to further expand your ability to connect accessories to this single computer. One quick note, if you are someone who has Wi-Fi 7 like myself, or you're potentially interested in upgrading your network, having a 10 gigabit port is actually pretty crucial on being able to have the throughput necessary to give you super fast speeds while plugged in via the Ethernet cord. Like for me, I live in a 3-story townhouse, about 2,500 square feet, with 2 nodes of an Asus BQ16 Pro Wi-Fi 7 router setup. And because of the 10 gigabit port on the Mac Studio connecting directly to the 10 gigabit port on the router is actually able to still throughput insane speeds from the main router in the garage downstairs. I'm getting gigabit plus upload speeds up here on the 3rd floor of the house. It's also super cool to see that the power cable isn't like this clunky brick. It's just a single braided slim black cord that plugs into the wall. And another benefit of considering getting a Mac Studio is that this specific design from Apple actually has the best cooling solution possible for their M4 Max chip, as it houses a much larger and expansive thermal system on the bottom to cool down the chips under load, which actually will kind of cleanly lead us into my thoughts now about the performance. This portion of the video is sponsored by MacPaw. So I don't know about you guys, but I've been thinking a lot about my Mac and online security lately. I actually know a lot of people who have had their YouTube accounts and email and Instagram accounts hacked, and it made me want to double down on protecting my own data and devices. So that's why I've been using this new software on my Mac called Moonlock. It's an online security app built specifically for Mac users, and what I love is how simple and genuinely helpful it is. It gives you the protection you need without actually overwhelming you, which is kind of nice. For starters, Moonlock constantly checks your files and apps in real time to make sure nothing dangerous slips through. So for me, I get hundreds of brand emails every week, and some of them actually have pretty malicious attachments that can fool a lot of people, and Moonlock will automatically filter those instantly for me. It's also a full malware scanner, so you can run deep scans to make sure your Mac is clean. It also includes a fast, reliable VPN to mask your IP address, and it even has a network inspector that lets you block connections to countries you don't trust. Moonlock even reviews your Mac's built-in security settings and shows exactly what you have enabled, so you always know where your protection stands on your computer. And then there's the security advisor with best practices and a simple checklist that you can go through to make sure that everything else is covered. I've honestly never used cybersecurity software as complete and easy to understand as Moonlock. And they actually have a Black Friday sale going right now where you can get 30% off any Moonlock plan between November 28th and December 1st. So be sure to use the discount down below and take advantage of that today. Okay, so let's talk about the performance now. The SKU that I have is the cheapest base model that you can buy, which comes with 36 gigs of unified memory, 512 gigs of SSD, and the M4 Max chip, which comes with 14 core CPU, 32 core GPU, and a 16 core neural engine. I do want to acknowledge something I've seen a lot in the comments over the years though, whenever I talk about performance within a Mac review. And it's that I know that some people get upset that I don't show every type of workflow out there, but I want you guys to empathize for a second. Like, I can only show you the things that I have experience using. Kind of your role in this review here, me and you, is that you're gonna try to draw some parallels from the work that I do, whether it's CPU intensive or GPU intensive, to give you more insight in how it might actually work for you, given the demands that I personally put on this computer. So with that being said, it goes without question that when it comes to like basic web browsing and office tasks, the M4 Max isn't missing a beat at all. It is incredible how fast this computer feels and how Apple can still make each generation of Apple Silicon feel even snappier over time. Like, I feel like I'm always saying Apple M series computers are really fast, like in the M1, the M2, the M3, but they actually feel faster than each other over the years. It's bonkers. When it comes to my experience with photo editing in Lightroom, which is something that I do a lot with mass imports, exports, grading, masking, it flows super smooth with zero lag or issues on my end. Really, the heaviest thing that I do is video editing. And actually, to be honest, this is actually where I start to hit some of the limitations of the M4 Max, and I do experience a ton of lag. So for me, I primarily edit now on DaVinci Resolve Studio, and when it comes to how it handles my 4K footage and doing basic edits and the speed of exporting, it does all that really well without any issues or any lag. The main problem that I run into is that when I want to start layering in a lot of VFX, which is incredibly GPU intensive, I start to see one effect at a time completely nuke and like make the preview lag like crazy. I was honestly kind of shocked and a little disappointed. Like, I had thought the M4 Max with 32 cores of GPU power would be enough for me in DaVinci Resolve for the effects that I use, but no, it actually lags like pretty hard. So I think I need to look at M3 Ultra, or I guess the M5 Ultra that is rumored to be coming hopefully in the next 6 months or so. Since I think those chips start at 60 cores of GPU power, which if that's not enough to do what I want to do on DaVinci Resolve, then I don't know, that'd be crazy. When it comes to gaming, you actually can do that to some degree on a Mac. I personally don't really. Like, I think if you truly want to game, you just need to go get a Windows computer. Like, I know Macs are very powerful these days, but the software support just really isn't there unless you are super into games like Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed. Like, there are a growing library of games becoming available on Mac that do run really well, but you've probably already played those games, or you're just not really interested in that. So I just think you're better off for gaming, buy a Windows computer. I would tread very carefully if one of the main reasons why you're buying a Mac is to play games. I think you're probably gonna be disappointed. Okay, so for my recommendations and like buyer's guide with all the Macs that Apple sells, the base model is always the best value for money if you can make that spec work. Apple does that all the time with their computers. This Mac Studio starts at $2,000 for the M4 Max, 36 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of SSD with tons of ports, most notably the 4 Thunderbolt 5 ports, SD card slot, and the 10 gigabit Ethernet port. It's absolutely loaded, guys, at this price point, because by comparison, if you got the base M4 Pro Mac Mini, which starts at $1,400, and you were to bump the M4 Pro to the maximum M4 Pro chip, upgrade the RAM to 48 gigabytes, and then add the 10 gigabit Ethernet, this M4 Pro Mac Mini would cost $2,100, so a little bit more than the Mac Studio, for less ports, way less GPU power, not as big of a cooling solution, but I guess you do get a little bit more RAM in this configuration, I suppose. It gets even crazier though, guys, when you consider getting the M4 Max Mac Studio on the refurb store from Apple. Like, you can get the same base computer with all the stuff that I just listed for $1,700 and still be eligible for the 1-year warranty, plus the ability to add Apple Care, because they actually test and make sure these things run like brand new. And to reinforce this even further, if you wanted this level of M4 Max power power in a MacBook Pro, it's gonna start at $3,200 for an M4 Max powered laptop. Obviously, there's other things going on there. There's a beautiful 120Hz screen and the portability of a MacBook, but I'm just saying, in terms of the ability to pay for access to a level of power and capability, the M4 Max Mac Studio is unbeatable value for anyone on like a lower budget. Since you can actually control how much you spend on things like a monitor, a keyboard, and other accessories for your desk, or if you already own those things, which you probably do if you're watching this video, then it's even better for you. You don't need to buy anything else. You just need to buy this desktop and plug it in. So overall, I cannot recommend the base model Mac Studio spec enough. It is incredible for anyone who takes their work seriously and also just doesn't want to blow their bank account for a level of adequate power for their work. So anyways, be sure to drop a like down below, comment an Apple emoji if you made it to the very end of the video, subscribe if you're brand new to my channel, and I'll talk to all of you guys in the next one. Peace.